Appreciate you coming today. This may be the last opportunity that we have to have a press conference such as this and provide the information we need to provide to our citizens and our guests until Friday. We'll have to play that by ear, but we definitely will not be having this event tomorrow. We've got a lot of stuff to cover, and I'm going to make some comments at the end, but I think what we'll move to do now is turn it over to Colonel Baxley for his information, and then we'll go from there. Neil?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. Thank y'all for coming. It is, I think it's Wednesday. We're in about day 11 now of this event, so getting kind of repetitious. For those that get excited about OpCons, Beaufort County remains at OpCon 1. Our Emergency Operations Center is open for 24-hour operations throughout the duration. We're fully staffed upstairs, and all of our partners have arrived and are getting the job done. We've got Highway Patrol, Triple P, DNR, National Guard, and let's see, we've also got a Coast Guard representative and a representative from FEMA Region 4 in Atlanta present in the county, helping us with operations and preparing for post-event situations. Touch on the storm a little bit. As of 8 o'clock, it was 90 miles east-northeast of Daytona Beach. It had sustained winds of 105 mile per hour, and it was moving north-northwest at 8 mile per hour. It's expected to continue that for a little bit and then begin to just parallel the coast and then gradually turn off the coast. Right now, the hurricane winds extend out 50 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend out 100 miles. The storm is forecast to pass within 50 miles of the coast of Beaufort County, so we will be experiencing, under the forecast, we will be experiencing hurricane force winds tonight going into tomorrow morning. The tropical storm force winds should start arriving sometime after lunch today, and the situation will continue to deteriorate. We are still looking at 4 to 7 foot of storm surge above ground level, normal dry ground. So think back again to the historical situations we've had in the last few years, and where we have seen flooding, you are forecast and anticipated to see it again, and probably a little bit worse. The National Weather Service in Charleston made a comment a couple of hours ago on a conference call that this may be the third, for the Charleston Harbor, this may be the third highest all-time storm surge scenario for Charleston Harbor. We are also anticipating 2 high tide cycles where we may not see much of a change. The high tide tonight and the high tide tomorrow afternoon, we may not see much of a change between the two because of the onshore winds, so that means we'll continue to have a lot of water in places. What that means is places like Highway 21 at Gardens Corner. We've seen historic inundation there before. We'll see it again. Highway 21 at the Ladies Island Airport and the Airport Circle, we'll see that again. Highway 21 at Village Creek on St. Helena Island, we'll see it again. Places 278 west of Sun City, where the New River enters, the headwaters of the New River enter into the Great Swamp. High probability of 278 being inundated there. The backside of Sun City, and I could go on with the list, but I'm giving you some examples to understand we're facing what we saw 3 years ago and probably a little worse. So be prepared for that. And we're looking for 10 to 15 inches of rain according to the forecast. So the rain will have nowhere to go while the high tides are still pushed in. That's the way the drainage system works. High tides have to go out for the water to go away. So let's talk about Palmetto Breeze, our transportation resources that move folks to shelter. They will cease operations at 1400 today. That's 2 p.m. So if you need transportation from Palmetto Breeze to get to the shelter, the phone number is 843-757-5782, and they will cease operations at 2 o'clock today. So this is your last chance to do that. Are you going to touch on the Defusky Ferry? Okay. We're still working on Defusky. Ms. Jacobs will touch on that. As the conditions deteriorate, travel will become increasingly dangerous on our roadways, bridges, and causeways. We have a lot of exposed areas. High winds can play havoc with high-profile vehicles. And then as the storm surge continues, several of these causeways came very close to being inundated yesterday at high tide. They'll see it today. There'll also be an erosion problem that you may not see if you're out driving around in this mess. You may not see erosion undercutting the roadway, and then the roadway collapses on you. So the caution here is do not be out driving in this. We're under mandatory evacuation order. You should already be gone. But if you've chosen to stay, then stay home. Be prepared. You're going to face power outages. We should start losing power later on this evening as the tropical storm force winds get over the area, and there will be power outages. The power crews will not be able to go out in that tight wind and restore. You need to call and report the outages as they begin, and then as it spreads, just be prepared to be patient with it. This has been the message we've given all along throughout our preparation is if you're going to stay, be prepared for power outages, extended power outages. I'm talking days, not hours, days. So be prepared for that. The crews cannot get out until the winds subside sometime tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow night, and they cannot work 24/7. There's a danger issue working at night on those high tension power lines. So they'll be working, and they've got plenty of help staged outside the county to come in and assist us. But it will be a time and labor intensive operation. One of the first things that will fail will be cell phones. Because of the power outages, most of the towers have generators and have batteries to keep them up and running for a set period of time. Once those generators run out of fuel, there'll be no way to refuel them until after the storm, so then cell phone coverage will drop off, and you'll be in a very limited communication situation. Once the storm has stopped and the tropical storm force winds have ceased, our public works crews and our contract crews will begin what we call a first push, and that's basically go down the middle of the road and get the trees out of a travel lane so that we can move a fire truck. That is our set criteria, is to be able to get a fire truck through because of the width and the height. And we'll push first to the hospitals, and then we begin to push the main roads and then the secondary roads, and then we get up to the private areas, and that takes time depending on the amount of damage we've had. So we will begin that, and we'll run those operations as long as we can, but again, the crews cannot run 24/7. They have to get rest, they have to refuel, they have to restock. So we'll be doing that as situation needs. Another thing with the power outages, once the power fails, and Joe's in the room standing here, he's going to talk a little bit more about the sewer lift stations, but when the power fails, you'll lose sewer power, and I'll let Joe extend on that some more. Another thing, in Matthew, when we began the first push, we've got power lines down the road, we've got trees down in the road. We had a lot of people wanted to get out and see what was going on, folks that had not evacuated. And we have a very iconic picture in our database of a patrol car having to stop traffic while 3 power trucks try to erect a power line. If you do not have to be driving around during this or after this, don't. You make the situation worse. Because if the power crews have to stop the work they're doing because it's not safe because of folks out sightseeing, that takes longer to get the power back up and running. So if you don't have to be out and moving about, do not. Post-event, in Matthew, we had a lot of roadblocks set up. We have a plan for whatever scenario presents us. It will be condition driven. If we don't need to set up any checkpoints, we won't. If we need to protect residential areas, commercial areas, property, inundated roads, whatever we need to do, conditions based, we will do. And be prepared to be stopped, be prepared to be turned around. If you're out riding around, expect to get stopped in this condition because we're going to find out who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And if you don't have a good reason for being there, we will take appropriate action. I believe that's all I got right now, sir.
Ashley, if y'all would introduce yourself for when you go up, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Ashley Jacobs, Beaufort County Administrator. The Hilton Head Airport and Ladies Island Airport will close today at noon. Both airports will reopen as soon as possible once it is safe for reentry and reestablishment of service. Beaufort Memorial Hospital is open and plans to remain open as long as possible. Hilton Head Hospital is closed. The Coastal Carolina Hospital in Jasper County is open. However, we do expect flooding of Highway 278 through the Great Swamp, so access may be an issue. All EMS units will respond as weather permits. Defusky Island, in terms of the Hague Point Ferry, at this time, the last scheduled ferry is for 3:40 p.m. However, that will depend on weather conditions. We are already seeing gusts of 50 miles per hour, so it's going to get choppy out there. As Colonel Baxley said, after the storm passes, we will have a first push. Public Works crews will be going out. Before that happens, though, all of our roads and bridges Our critical infrastructure need to be inspected before anyone can go out. After public safety gives us the green light, our public works crews will do a first push to get debris off the road. And again, our priority will be emergency vehicles so that they can get through. Those public works crews are embedded with our fire departments all across the county, and they will be ready to get moving once we get the green light. We will also send out damage assessment teams to assess the magnitude of damage to public infrastructure, such as facilities, roadways, piping systems, and bridges. And once the storm is over, our top priority will be getting our families, our residents, and our businesses back to normal as soon as possible. Thank you.
Stu Rodman, County Council. A couple of thoughts. For everybody that I talked to that stayed for Matthew, which is really a good example of what we may be facing, to a person, all said they would not stay again. Just to repeat that, all the people who stayed through Matthew that I talked to, and many other people talked to, said they would not stay again. As we go through this, think about your neighbors. Let's keep all our first responders in our prayers and thoughts.
Good morning, folks. My name is Jeff Bradley. I'm the South Carolina House of Representatives member for Hilton Head and Defusky Island. I want to echo what Stu said to some extent. If you're here, you need to make good decisions and keep that in mind. But if you're leaving, let's go, because it's starting to deteriorate out there. I've talked to the South Carolina Department of Transportation, and they are telling me that all roads for evacuation are open at this point. And we will come back to a community that has had significant damage, and we want to be patient with these folks in uniform who are trying their best just to keep us safe. And so let's look after our neighbors while we're out there, and let's get ready to put our community back together on a post-storm basis. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Lisa Salka, Mayor, Town of Bluffton. Just a couple of things. I'm not going to reiterate what was said. I'll say ditto to that. But just a few things for you to keep in mind. Mayor McCann is not here today because the wind gusts were so high, it was pretty treacherous to cross the bridge. So I would take that, and if you're on Hilton Head, consider why he is not here. He's with his EOC. So we represent him. Fill your tubs with water. You're going to hear about water and walking through water. Go ahead and fill your tubs up with water if you're here, or if you're leaving, you'll have fresh water when you come back. The town is translating everything we put out in Spanish, and we're having some really great people forward that. So please let them know what we get from the police department and our EOC. We are putting in Spanish translation on our Facebook post. Consider the Jasper Shelter. I've said it every day, and I mean it every day. Maybe you'll buy into it. The Jasper Shelter is the cool place to be right now. Please take advantage of that and go check it out, because it will fill up. And re-entry, just know if we're unable to do this with Sheriff and Lieutenant Colonel Baxley, we will pass along their information via Facebook. And so just stay tuned to all of our social media and this wonderful press, and we will get the information out and get you back here as quickly as we can so we can get back to running things smoothly. Thank you. Be safe.
Good morning. I'm Ed Waddell, and Beaufort County Coroner. During the storm, the coroner's office, once they pull EMS, fire service off the road, we will not be responding. Any death that occurs during the storm will have to be held in place. Once it's clear for us to get back on the road, then we will resume. This is something to take in consideration, and there will be some death to occur doing this. We just want you to know, think ahead, be prepared, and we will respond to you as soon as we can. Thank you.
We are a team. This is my brother from another mother, Billy Kaiser.
Right. We work together so close. We're Port Royal and Beaufort are sealed at the hip with shared fire department and lots of collaboration. So, in deference to time, you get two of us at one time. Sam?
Good. We talk about the fire department, the police department, but I want to put a shout out to the public works people. They work hard out there. And a lot of times people don't recognize them, but they're the ones out there doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and we'll be doing it as soon as the storm is over. But everybody be safe, and we're here to protect your property. If you're out of town, stay out of town. Those of you here, stay put.
And together we say, evacuate.
Bet.
If you can leave, leave. There's nothing wrong. Hopefully you leave and we don't suffer damage. But the risk, as everyone has said, is just at this point too great. Thank you all, and thanks to our leadership for bringing us through this process and bringing us out of this process when it's finished.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joe Mantua. I'm the general manager at Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority. Our emergency personnel have completed our preparations. We've topped off all of our generators, our system's full of water. Our emergency crews are mobilized at their designated facilities as of this morning. We will be adjusting valves this afternoon at the critical causeways beginning at 4 p.m. This is going to result in reduced flow. We still have water service, but it'll be reduced flow. Could result in lower water pressures. The areas are Bermuda Bluff, Birdfoot Landing, Kalawasi Island, Cat Island, Coosaw Island, Distant Island, Vivian's Island, Harbor, Hunting, and Fripp Islands, Horse Island, Kingston Key, Myrtle Island, Pine Island, Tansy Village, and Warsaw Island. The purpose of these water restrictions is to avoid a catastrophic loss of water system pressure should a failure of the pipeline within the causeway occur due to the effects of the storm. Customers in these areas, as noted, will still have water service but may experience lower water pressure. Additionally, another announcement we wanted to make is in order to ensure the safety of our emergency crews, they will not be available after 4 p.m. today, so any calls that come in after 4 p.m. we will not be able to respond to due to the storm. Our emergency crews will remain sheltered until it is safe to travel within the service area after the storm passes. Once the storm does pass, we will have our damage assessment crews in place to begin the restoration process and determine what restoration is needed. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Weston Newton, state representative from the Hilton Head, Bluffton portions of Jasper County area. As a former county council chairman, and at the risk of being an officious intermeddler, as a state representative who really has no role in what's happening here at the local EMD, I'm here to do two things. One, Colonel Baxley and Sheriff and mayors and all the municipal police departments, thank you. You all have been at this tirelessly for over 6 days, protecting the citizens of the Low Country, South Carolina. And number two is my simple message is heed the warning of law enforcement, heed the warning of your elected and government representatives. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. They've been at this. They have our best interests. And if you have the ability to leave, please do so. Godspeed. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for all of their comments. The reality is upon us now. If you're still with us and you're still here in Beaufort County, you still have time to leave. It looks like the estimate of problem times for me is probably 6 p.m. today through 6 p.m. tomorrow. Those are going to be critical times. That's going to be a critical time for us. We're looking at probably the most wind, the most water, the most rain, and the most hazard during that time. So you still have time to pack up and leave. I think you'll be more comfortable if you're outside of Beaufort County because this storm looks like it's really going to give us a problem. If you decided to stay and you just won't go, then you need to shelter in place wherever it may be. If it's at your home or a business or a shelter, then you just need to stay put, especially starting later this afternoon through tomorrow afternoon. This storm is going to offer a lot of wind, rain, and very high water with storm surge. High tides are an absolute concern of ours. We'll have actually 3 high tide tables we're looking at. It's going to impact us quite a bit. Rain, Neil covered that, 6 to 12 inches of rain on top of storm surge, on top of high tide. So that's going to be a real problem throughout the county. Curfew. Curfew has been signed. The municipalities of Beaufort County and the County of Beaufort has signed the appropriate documents for a curfew that will start tonight, 10 p.m. through 6 a.m., Wednesday and Thursday. So Wednesday and Thursday starting tonight, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Those curfews will be enforced appropriately. They are criminal events, so you need to keep that in mind. The key to protecting yourself and your family is to stay home. Colonel Baxley covered that. There is absolutely no reason why you should be out joyriding or doing anything other than protecting yourself and your family. If you're out and you're out sightseeing and joyriding during this event and during curfew hours, you will be confronted by law enforcement. And law enforcement will be investigating as to what you're doing and why you're out and about. So you need to keep that in mind. We need to keep people off the streets, keep them in their sheltered location, because we will have a zero tolerance with criminal activity. So if you're out and about, don't be surprised if you've got blue lights on you or a law enforcement officer questioning you as to why you're out and about. Stay indoors. As so many people have said during an event such as this, there will be a lot of wind. We'll have a lot of tree damage. We'll have power line issues. It doesn't take a whole lot for a limb to come out of a tree because you're out sightseeing in your own yard or your neighbor's yard or someplace where you shouldn't be. So stay indoors during this event, and everyone be safe. Questions? It's only an estimate on our part, but percentage-wise is very low. We've got a lot of people that did not evacuate, and I think that's kind of what we're hearing on the entire coast.
Do you know why?
Because probably remembering back to Hurricane Matthew and Irma and all the storms we've had in the past 3 years, making that decision should not be difficult, but it is for some. And most decide to stay because of things that they experienced in years past. We always encourage evacuation. Evacuation is still an opportunity for you right now. And if you're given any kind of second thoughts to evacuating, stop thinking about it, get in your car, move you and your family to safety out of Beaufort County.
Do we have any idea how many people are in the Jasper County shelter at this point?
I think the last count was somewhere around 160.
And how many can it hold?
It's 1,695 or something like that.
There were 192 in shelter last
Okay.
night.
192. And it holds how many, Neil? You remember? 1,700?
1,700.
So there's still plenty of room. It's an easy drive right now, but when high tide comes in about 2 o'clock today, that may not be so easy. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Any plans yet for re-entry?
Oh, we're planning for re-entry, absolutely. I mean, those plans have been in place. Everyone that's here before you is heavily involved in re-entry. We're still in evacuation mode, but we'll shift from that later on today to security. Then from there, we'll be looking at, law enforcement-wise, we'll be looking at re-entry. So
You mentioned that the cell phone towers will lose power at some point. What about the landlines? Are they powered for a while?
They are.
Or battery powered?
Till the trunk system goes out. So, and we've experienced that as well. 911 lines are activated, and we have things in place to deal with that. But when you have a lot of wind, rain, and water, anything could happen. We're lucky that we have 2 medical facilities that are operational, but again, it's trying to get there is the problem. Even though we have a medical facility available, it's trying to get a patient from their home or from a location to the hospital during a storm is difficult. Ambulances have a real tough time traveling in high winds on bridges. They're top heavy.
Do you know how many National Guardsmen are in the area?
Actually, I asked for that number. Did you get it?
Yes, sir, it did. You've got 289 guardsmen.
289.
Is there a part of the county that you guys are more
Yeah, and Colonel Baxley can go through that again. There are areas that we were able to identify fairly clearly in Matthew, but more clearly in Irma. And we're actually looking at, I think we're looking at more problems with storm surge than we did in Matthew and Irma. This is, folks, you need to understand that this is a very, very dangerous storm, and it's going to impact Beaufort County. And it's going to impact, and I'm just going to throw it out. Those that remembered, just like Chairman Rodman said, those that remembered Matthew, you're going to see Matthew again, and it's going to be stronger. So those folks that are living on some of our barrier islands, Hilton Head and Fripp and Hunting and Defusky and those type places, you still have an opportunity to vacate and move to higher ground, and you need to take that opportunity now.
Any idea how widespread these power outages could be?
I'm going to throw it out and say all of Beaufort County, into Jasper County and neighboring Colleton County, and for an undetermined amount of time, because we know firsthand what we experienced in Hurricane Matthew, and that didn't even register as a Category 1. It was a very, very, if you wanted to call it anything, it was an extremely weak Category 1, and the damage that we had in Beaufort County from that storm was amazing. And this storm is going to be worse. It's going to offer a whole lot more of a challenge for us and our citizens that stayed behind. This is not one of those events you need to plan hurricane parties around. This is a very serious storm. Questions?
That's wind, folks. Everybody's looking around. That's wind.
Sounds like someone's vacuuming. Anything that we haven't covered that we should? Anything?
No, sir.
Colonel?
We're good.
Has there been any assessment as to the amount of dead wood that might come down, old live oaks, et cetera, that might be a danger?
I would look at it this way. If you see a tree and the wind's blowing, consider a limb being dead wood that's going to come down at some point in time. And here's the thing. We've still got trees that suffered damage during Hurricane Matthew, and that could come down at any time. And we've seen a lot of those trees come down with just a summer storm. And we're going to have a lot of rain. We're going to have rain and wind, and the rain, of course, weakens the root system with the wind, and then, of course, all the damage we'll get from storm surge and just high tide and the flooding that we'll have. So you stay indoors, stay away from power lines and trees. Anything that we need to cover? Anything? Okay. We will, even though we may not have a press conference, what I can tell you, we won't have a press conference tomorrow, but Major Bromage and everyone will be pushing out information all day today through tomorrow, and if we can get together again, we'll notify you, and it'll probably be sometime Friday afternoon when the winds have settled. Again, just for everyone, including yourself, thank you for the coverage that you've given us. The information that we've been able to provide the general public is extremely important, and for everyone just to be safe. Thank you.
Good job.